Okay, well, hello everyone. This is Brian Sachs and Joel Sagner with Senior Transition Helpers. And, we like to bring you information that helps you make informed and intelligent decisions as a senior or even as the child of a senior uh, in terms of day-to-day living, issues related to health, care, issues related to your real estate, of course, since Joel and I are both real estate agents as well. And today we have a very special guest with you. Jennifer, I want to welcome you.
Thank you.
And Joel, I'm going to let you take it away, but I think you're all going to be very, very intrigued with this topic. I know I was.
I agree. Okay, so this is Jennifer with Mind Your Nest, which I absolutely love that name. And Jennifer, tell us a little bit about what your business is and how you came about wanting to be in this business.
So a little bit of background. The name of the business, and I also have a podcast called Mind Your Nest, came from really how I was raised and how I grew up. I have several accountants in my family as well as a lawyer. And we always talked about minding your nest and minding your matters and kind of taking care of your business as a family growing up. So that was really just an integral part of my day-to-day life. And having gone into my dad's accounting firm and having worked for him for over 8 years, I really saw firsthand what really minding your nest meant. Not only helping clients with their individual partnership or corporate tax returns, but also doing personal bookkeeping for them, such as helping them with bill payment, reconciling their bank statements, helping them match up their doctor bills to EOBs, and just helping with the day-to-day operational part of running your household. And this really came about because a lot of the older clients, when the spouse died, and at times it was really the man who passed away first. And from a generational perspective, back then in my parents' and grandparents' generation, the man was the one who took care of everything. And for good, bad, or indifferent, the wife really acquiesced to the man. And that was just how it was. So for a lot of women, they didn't really have any involvement in the day-to-day running of the financial household. They were out, driving the kids back and forth to school. Maybe they had a part-time job. They were really around for their children. They were the homemaker and they managed the household. So for those women, when their spouse passed away, they were not only dealing with grieving the loss of their partner, which is really intense in and of itself, but then they were left with bills coming in, figuring out what to pay, how to pay it, where the checkbook is in some cases, where the money is, how many accounts are there. And while we always want to believe and feel that our families are there to help and support us, sometimes the family members, they're there hopefully to help support their grieving mother. But then the question is, well, I also need help on running my household. So,
Right.
Every family is different. Every relationship is different. And for some family members, the family members really want to detach themselves from that part of helping out their parent. So daily money managers, that's the name of what I do. And there's an association called the American Association of Daily Money Managers, which we're really a piece of the puzzle. So I'm not an accountant, I'm not an investment advisor, and I'm not a lawyer, but I am a part of the puzzle that helps those other important factors move things along from a personal household expense standpoint, so that the client understands where they are, knows when bills are due, and helps with the overall day-to-day operational running of their household. And then that helps the accountant, the investment advisor, and then obviously the attorney. So we all work as a team.
Yeah, I'm sort of chuckling a little bit because my parents are going to be married 60 years, and that's exactly the relationship they have. And I think after so many years of not doing something, it's hard to learn how to do that. It's taxing, it's
That's-
frustrating. It's, it's a whole new thing. And typically when a spouse passes in this more, past traditional way,
Yep,
um, it's just so far gone that they don't have the interest
right.
many times to figure it out. And I think that's why family members also don't want to do it, because like you have your own stuff to deal with, then having to deal with
Right.
somebody else's bills. If you could pay somebody to take that off of your brain,
Mhm.
it's certainly worth it.
Oh, yeah.
At least in my opinion.
I will say that there are some emotional factors that also play into this.
Sure.
Um, for some people, the the feeling of not having the tools to really understand what needs to be done in this capacity. I mean, inherently they understand, but they don't understand or know the steps on kind of where to start and how to continue on what their widow was doing. But in that, there's a lot of shame and maybe embarrassment that they've had no interaction with this at all for such a long time.
Sure.
And, for some people, maybe they don't want to talk to their kids about it because maybe they don't want their kids to know their financial situation,
Right.
whether, good, bad, or indifferent. And sometimes it's better to have somebody that's objective. I table my emotions. I'm really good at that. I put my emotions, in a place, and then I'm all business. That's just how I've been. But the other thing too, that another demographic that also could benefit from these services are people my age. I'm 57 and I've been on my own for 20 years, raising my kids. And because I was raised in the environment that I was raised in, I wasn't afraid of what to do and how to continue the day to day money matters of my own personal household. But I have found that there are primarily women that are newly divorced or getting divorced. I have a very dear friend who's going through it now, who also admittedly has acquiesced to her husband for all these years. And now all of a sudden she's having to learn how to use a computer, how to log in to make airline reservations, how to look at her bank statements. And I don't look at those women as any more or less I may have empathy and sympathy for them. And it's not a judgment because we all grew up and, we've all had different lives. So some traditionally women just, still think in those traditional roles, which there's nothing wrong with it.
Right, of course.
And, they're watching their parents and then they think, oh, this is how it's supposed to be. And
And honestly, if I had somebody that was going to take care of all that stuff and I didn't have to deal with it, I'd be like, yeah, take it.
right,
Let's think,
I
I don't have
know,
to think about.
right.
Can we
Yeah.
go a little deeper? Tell me, let's assume, I know I don't fit the prototype, but let's assume I'm the man and I have no idea what's going on and my wife took care of
Uh-huh.
all the bills.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sure
There's
that
that
happens
too.
too.
Yeah, same
Okay.
thing.
It probably happens a lot more than we think.
Yeah.
Yes.
My wife had, she saw the Big Fat Greek Wedding movie and she always says, you're the head of the house, but I'm the neck and the neck controls the
Right.
head.
Yeah.
So, and she's right. So tell me, the nitty gritty of it. I mean, I come to you as a client. My
Mhm,
gas and electric bill comes in. You pay
mhm.
it. I pay it. What happens? I don't know.
So
I want to understand a little more specifically what you do.
sure. So typically, I offer 1 hour free consultation to see, what the need is and really to come into your space to see, growing up as the daughter of an accountant, I saw boxes with receipts, piling up out of the boxes. I've seen it all in terms of how people um,
You must
file
know
or
me,
don't
because
file.
I have a shoebox here with my accountant's name on it.
Right, exactly, right. So I think it's really important to come into the space where the potential client lives to get a better understanding of how much chaos there is potentially going on in that household, to try to take the temperature of the need. And it really, is a combination of um, having a desire to help, having, as I said, empathy, and being really thoughtful in how you communicate with the client. Because, for new widows or widowers, as I said before, that are going through the grieving process, or maybe their spouse is infirmed or whatever, their emotional part is already tied up in knots because of that. But it's really making a connection, like an authentic connection. And I always thought that I should have been born in my parents' or grandparents' generation. I'm an old soul. And I've always loved just trying to figure out what the true need is. So I come into the house and we sit down and we sit at a, kitchen table, dining room table, and let's say you have your shoebox and you say, I haven't written a check in, 30 days. I don't know where to start. So I say, let's start going through the shoebox and let's start organizing all the papers and organizing them in chronological order to see, are you past due? Um, is there a paid due bill that we don't have to attend to? Do you have any bills that are set up automatically so that we don't have to worry about? Do you have any doctor bills that are in the shoebox? Do you have EOBs that are in the shoebox that we have to match up to a doctor bill? Um, and just having a conversation about that. And, asking about what other bills you have, your cable, your phone bill, internet, your FPL bill, or, whoever your service provider is, and trying to get an understanding of what are your regular monthly bills, and then what are ancillary bills that come in, on a one-off. And the goal is really to take the assessment, get to know the client on a personal level, and um, and then make a schedule to come in twice a month. Like on the 1st or the 15th, or the 15th or the last day of the month, depending on what the needs are. And some people want, once a week for a while, depending on what their situation is. Um, and it we would be paying the bills right there at that time.
So you're doing it
I'm literally
together.
paying it
Yep,
with them.
exactly. Yep,
Okay.
Did
exactly.
you say, Brian? I'm sorry.
You're literally paying the bills with them and filing it and organizing
That's
it.
right. Yep.
And what about investment accounts, bank accounts?
So investment accounts, no interaction with that, no responsibility with that. It's just taking the monthly statements and hopefully, or either creating files for that or just filing that away. Because usually there's nothing to do with that. It's just a record of what your monthly statement is. Credit card bills, going through the credit card bills, let's say your Visa or MasterCard or Discover, and kind of going over with maybe more of a fine tooth comb, especially for the newer client that hasn't, been involved with doing this, just to get an understanding if they understand what all these charges are, and then paying the bill at that time as well. Whether doing it, writing a check, there, still people that like to actually write a check and mail it in,
Me
or
too.
going online. Yeah, yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. Or, going on to the vendor's website to pay the bill, or going on to their bank account to pay the bill.
Jennifer, do you ever give them any sort of like financial advice? Like, let's say they have a high interest credit card and they have the money to pay it off. Do you
Mhm.
talk about that at all?
Oh,
Like
yeah,
sometimes
getting it.
one, one spouse is doing one thing And
Right,
the other spouse is like, wait, we've got all these bills. I didn't know we had all these bills.
right, exactly. Yep, taking a look at, you know, um, like emptying the shoebox and spreading things out on a table. I always think visually that helps the most, because then you can really see what is happening, or get an idea of what they think is happening with their household expense. And yes, talking to them after taking a look at their credit card statements, looking at, let's say, their cable bill, and trying to figure out, have they called recently to try to negotiate a lower rate? Same thing with your cell phone. Sometimes there are customers, clients, that don't know to really advocate for themselves and see if they have a better rate going on, to really um, see if they could save a few dollars, and to do that as well.
Okay.
Are you doing any budgeting with them per se?
Oh, that's a good point.
If they want, yes, to try to figure out, let's say they're on, they get Social Security, or, they're getting a pension that comes in, or if they're receiving money on a regular basis or monthly basis, to try to get an idea of what their outflow is compared to what their, incoming dollars are, and try to get a handle on that.
I
As
would
well as,
imagine, I would imagine you're seeing quite a few people upside down in this environment.
yeah, I will
Really
say that,
costs.
we had talked about primarily the women. So I definitely don't want to leave you out, but I remember having a client in Chicago. Um, he was a new widow, and he had just moved. I think he moved from Chicago, from Ohio to Chicago. And he at least had one daughter, because I met her. I can't remember if he had any other children. And it was really difficult, because number one, he was definitely dealing with some mental acuity issues, and um, topple that with the grieving of his wife, and then add on the fact that he was just uprooted from the family home and moved into a senior lifestyle community. And then on top of that, it was really evident that his relationship with his daughter was somewhat strained, and she definitely didn't want to help out and get in the weeds with him about all of this. And that sometimes is a challenge, when you see that dynamic with the family relationships. And it was really, I really felt for him. He was confused, overwhelmed, the same thing that the female widow goes through. He was just like that, just, he was a man, his wife passed. Um, and it's not a surprise to see that, because I'm, my upbringing was growing up with three very strong males in my house: my dad, my older and younger brother. But that's not the case for everybody, and everybody has a different experience. And, you know, I think that maybe it makes people more uncomfortable if it's a man that's struggling like that. But men, everybody deserves the same level of compassion, empathy, and not try to step in between the parent-child dynamic. Just trying to stay Switzerland, and, remind yourself to keep your emotions, in another place, and try to focus on business.
I
Jennifer,
love that you meet the client where they are,
Yeah,
which is
completely.
I'm a social worker, that's a social worker principle, and I love that because you can help the people a lot better and more effectively when you meet them where they're at instead of trying to drag them where you want them to go.
Exactly. Because most importantly, we're human beings, and just connecting with a human being at a base level is, it really, you can tell when you're meeting somebody for the first time who's struggling, and that you just want to build a rapport and a connection with them right off the bat, and acknowledging them, finding out a little bit about them, getting a little bit of personal background with them so that you're just not coming in there to, you know, take over and take charge and get down to business in right from the jump, because that can be off-putting.
Of course.
And not only off-putting, but it can also be really intimidating, because I grew up seeing how important connections are in those relationships and building personal and professional relationships, and how much really connecting with people in the beginning can really outlive just about anything. If people know that you're there for them and that you're there to help. I have never been disappointed because I've taken time to get to know somebody.
Were you
So,
going to say something, Brian? Go ahead.
yeah, I mean, I think what you do is fabulous, and I can clearly see the benefit to the family, the benefit to the person, and how your demeanor and professionalism
Mhm.
it's sort of infectious.
Thank you.
I mean, I can, we talk about know, like, and trust you. I don't. I've just met you. I already feel like I know, like, and trust you, and
Thank you.
so I think what you've shared is really critical. And I'm thrilled that we have this platform to get this message out,
Mhm.
because I'm betting most people don't really understand that. And when
Oh,
they
right.
don't get it, or even know that there is a professional solution to it,
Mhm.
and especially with an older population that is so susceptible to being ripped off.
Oh,
Yes.
Uh, um, if for no other reason, and I'm not minimizing any of your reasons,
Mhm.
because I think your reasons are awesome. Okay. But as a child of a senior, I'd want this in place because, my God, I mean, the scams are on overdrive,
Yes.
and someone going through the statement, uh, really going through it and really understanding it and going, I don't know, what was this 800 number you sent $1,000 to last
Right.
year?
Yep.
That's a little abnormal. What was that? Okay,
Right. Exactly.
you nip that in the bud, and especially if you're listening to this and your parents are out of town.
mhm.
Um,
Yep.
like most seniors in Florida, a good deal of the family is not in Florida,
Mhm.
and you're not necessarily seeing from visit to visit, which actually is happening.
Right.
So critical. So how do people reach you, Jennifer?
So I am a member of the Delray Beach Chamber of Commerce. Um, I have a website called mindyournest.com. I have an email address. I'm also listed on the American Association of Daily Money Managers website as a resource. I'm a member of ESRN,
What is
and
your phone number?
it is 847-421-2560.
And you offer a free consultation,
Yep.
so that, and I'm assuming, let's just say my parents are in Florida and I'm in New York.
Mhm.
Could we do a Zoom meeting?
Sure. Of
Okay,
course. Yeah.
good.
I wanted to add something that I didn't mention after what you were just talking about with being scammed. You know, one of the newer variables that comes into play with helping out people in need of assistance with their day-to-day money matters is the technological piece that wasn't around many, many, many years ago. So I also help with that. I've helped with going through somebody's email, um, going through and unsubscribing,
Oh,
identifying what is a scam or spam and what is not. Amazon never reaches out to you to ask you to click on a link. And as you said, there are a lot of people that just believe what is coming through their email box. And as you said, haven't been engaged with technology at that level, maybe ever, or maybe in a very long time. and helping identify that so nobody clicks through, nobody gets their computer wiped out, and also going through their phone, um, going through their contact list on their phone, helping to really maybe clean up their contact list, putting ICE dash and then somebody's name for in case of emergency, maybe increasing the font, and just helping to also get a better handle on if they have been a victim of a scam artist and feel ashamed and embarrassed
Embarrassing.
to talk
You
about
know,
that. It is.
it's embarrassing, but
Yeah.
yet these scammers are really, really good. I mean,
Oh,
they're
yes.
really good.
You know,
They are.
it's so unfortunate. I've heard so many stories of how quickly the scam happens from the time that somebody picks up the phone, within, it seems like minutes, they're already accessing somebody's bank account because the potential client, thought it was a real phone call and wasn't suspicious.
The good old days were the good old days, and
Yeah,
the bank manager isn't calling you from India saying that you
that's right.
your social security number and he's going to deposit 3,000 in your account.
Right.
So,
And they are, I think that they're getting more and more um, relentless in their um, desire to really scam individuals. It seems like it's definitely ramped up over the years. It's almost like you feel like you're getting calls every single day that say, that this might be a spam call. And that's unfortunate, especially for the people that fall for it. It's really, really
horrendous.
devastating.
It could be financially devastating.
Yes. Yep.
So again, I want to thank you, Jennifer. You're
Thank
awesome.
you. Thank you.
We appreciate having you on here. For those of you listening, you can subscribe to our weekly podcast. And certainly, if you have any real estate needs, feel free to call Joelle. What is your number, Joelle? How do they reach you?
443-277-3160.
And you can reach me at 443-324-8424. If you have any suggestions for an upcoming topic or would like to be a guest on our show, please send us an email at seniortransitionhelpers@gmail.com. And we'll see you next week.
Have a great day.
Take care.
Take care.